My name is Alaya, A-L-A-Y-A. And what I want to do is share a little tidbit or two about what I call pairing, people activating intimate relating. That applies to any time there are two beings or two elements, two countries, husband and wife, partner, partner, boss, employee, friend, friend, anytime there are two. And there's a pink elephant really in the middle of all pairing. And I want to reveal the pink elephant to you so you don't stumble on the pink elephant like many, many people do. So first we want to know that when there are two people, there's a relationship space. So when I draw a person, they have a head, a heart, a center, and a body. And the head is for thinking, the heart is their feelings, the center is their spirituality, whatever that means to them, and they also have a body. And in this case, we have two beings, and I will introduce them to you. This is Gertrude, and this is Fenton. Now, the secret is that any one person, Gertrude, for example, has a world. Her world is made up of all of her beliefs, her culture, her standards, her value, even her language itself. If we went French, Italian, signing, whatever the original language is, which changes our view of the world and uniquely shapes it, one of Michelle's specialties. And the other person has a world too. And they're unique too. For example, in my pair with my husband, John, his use of the word vacation means different than what it means to me. So when we first came into partnership, I didn't know about this. And I said, let's go on vacation. I was like, Gertrude was so happy. I'm going on vacation with Gertrude. And my picture of vacation is the sun, the salt water, walking, swimming, all of that. He goes, great, let's go on vacation. And he has a picture of computers and a workout center and all of that. And I'm not so interested in that. So even one world can create the problem in this space between. So now let me add a little bit to this. Gertrude has a world and Fenton has a world. That means there are actually two worlds that are involved in any relationship space that is created because there are actually two beings. Now, there was a bunch of research that was done about this. And so I'm going to put on this board a secret. And the secret is this. There are three stages to this relationship space. The first stage is the romantic love stage. And if you don't know this stage and you're caught off guard, you can misunderstand it. So on the romantic love stage, the feeling is there's one world. Gertrude and Fenton are on the same world. We both think that vacation is what? Now, what am I going to say? That's the difficulty. But we also have the experience of, I love coffee ice cream. You love coffee ice cream? Oh my gosh, I love coffee ice cream too. So in the romantic love stage, there's sameness. We discover sameness. And we're even told in some partnership ceremonies, the two worlds become one. So it's reinforced in lots of places, except this is not true. This is the pink elephant. So then what happens is we're going along. Let me get my black marker here. We're going along and there is inevitably the next stage, which is the power struggle stage. Now, these stages are linear. How long a particular pair is in any stage varies. I have one particular pair that I'm currently working with. They were in the romantic love stage for a whole entire year. And then what happened? He moved in. They were dating, then he moved in. in the moment he moved in for this particular pair, they immediately were in the power struggle stage. Now, often the power struggle stage is misinterpreted. So let me share something about that. We're going along. We thought it was one world. Now the worlds shrink and it's smaller. And then it's even smaller. And then all of a sudden, there's this shocking realization there are actually two worlds. There are two worlds. Then, without realizing it, we begin to anticipate only one world can win. So it becomes a world war or a power struggle. And this person, Fenton or Gertrude, is trying to convince this person to believe their world and join them back so there's only one world. It's not a truth. Let me tell you a short side thing. I was honored because I am hearing challenged. I went to the Ontario Camp of the Deaf. Now, I am not deaf. I'm hard of hearing. I wear hearing aids. And for a whole week, and it was only for a week, I experienced the most wondrous thing. Everybody was in silence. I wasn't working so hard around the sound. For me, that's what I, as a hearing challenged person, deal with. And I can remember in one of the groups noticing people were getting up every once in a while going like this. And I didn't know what it meant. And then they'd walk out of the room, and then in a while bit, they'd come back in. And I finally found out it meant I'm going to the bathroom. I love that in this particular camp, there just simply were no secrets. Everybody was out there. It's visible. And that's one of the things that I brought back from my travel to the Ontario Camp of the Deaf to my own world. And I encourage my apprentices in all the classes and work I do to do this. If you're getting up in the middle of teaching, just do this so everybody knows what's happening. Anyway, that was a little travel to a world, which I'll explain in a minute. Now, let's come back to this. The romantic love stage can last however long, and that's the sense we have one world. The power struggle is the discovery that there are two worlds. And at this point, if you do not know that there is a third stage, what happens for people is that there is a conclusion. I'm with the wrong person, a wrong job, there's something wrong with me. There's a lot of misinterpreting about this power struggle stage. Now, the good news is there's a third stage. For example, if you didn't know that children lose their child teeth so the big teeth can come in, we'd be worried, right? We'd be running around trying to glue the little baby teeth back in again. At the power struggle stage, in pairing, people activating intimate relating, this is a very crucial place. Now, both Michelle and I, in our own ways, help people negotiate through this to get to the third stage. And this third stage is called conscious loving. In conscious loving, there's peace that people have arrived at, that there are, yes, two worlds, can't solve that. If there are two people, there's a relationship space and there's two worlds. But they've come to peace with it in a way to let one world be the focus at any one time. I call that world travel. So let's look at this a minute. Let's say Gertrude is going to travel to Fenton's world. Now, becoming an exquisite world traveler in our pairing space means that we set aside our world, we take our world and put it over here, and we say we're going to focus on one world, and it's Fenton's world. So now Gertrude is going to go explore every single thing that Fenton wants to share. So Gertrude is going to listen and let Fenton tell about his world. Fenton is like a tour guide. So if I travel to Switzerland, I want the tour guide of Switzerland to tell me all the neighborhoods. I don't want to go saying I know all about Switzerland. That's not going to help. I won't get to know Switzerland. So we agree that there's one world. There's a person who's the tour guide or the sender that tell all about their neighborhood. Like John saying, this is what the word vacation means. So then what happens is we travel there, we learn about what's being said, and then we come back to our own world, still being totally curious from our heart space. What is it we learned about that person's world? It's always one world at a time. One of the interesting things about this is statistically, you've all probably heard that 50% of relationships end in divorce or breakup because they get to the power struggle stage and they say something's wrong person. And there was a study, multiple actually, and the study followed the people after that first breakup. Then 90% of that group reactivated a different pairing situation, and 95% of them broke up. The studies kept following to find out what would happen. The people who again entered a pairing relationship, 95% stayed together. So the question became, what was it from here to here that they learned? What they learned was how to world travel. They learned that fighting that there's two worlds just guarantees a world war, guarantees you stop at the power struggle step and never get to experience the wonder of conscious loving. Conscious loving is an experience of when someone else chooses purposely to travel to our world and then put big ears on and listen as we describe a neighborhood of our world. Like, this is what vacation means to me. Or, wow, being in the Ontario camp of the deaf was so wonderful because there were no secrets. It's just out there. Nothing's hidden. Faces, signing, everything all has to be combined, at least in the little bit of my understanding. There was a wonder about that. So let me tell you a short example. One of my teachers, a pair, Haiti and Yumi. Haiti's the guy, and he wanted to travel to Israel. This was a long, long time ago, and it was really, there was a big war going on. Haiti was terrified. No, he can't go, he can't go. But they knew about world travel. And so Haiti said, I don't want you to die. And Yumi said, I want to live my life as if it's a good day to die every day. They went back and forth and back and forth. They traveled to each other's world using a whole process that I'm not going to get into right now. And finally, one day, Yumi said, I've got to do this. On my world, this is so important. If I die there, I die there. I need to know I did this. And Haiti took a deep breath. She went deep inside into her heart. And she said, well, for me, that's scary. And I really understand your world now, and I will travel there and I will travel with you to Israel. And they did. And they came back. In real life, it was world travel. Emotionally, heart to heart, it was world travel. And Haiti came back and said, it was one of the most profound learnings that we can't try to hang on to the person in the pair with us, because then we're saying something's wrong with their world. That's one of a zillion stories that I would tell. So now let's come back again. These three stages, romantic love, power struggle, and conscious loving, happen. We can't stop them. Sometimes what happens, let me just use a different word. You go down, you get through the power struggle, and you get here, you drop into conscious loving, and then sometimes there's a spiraling looping like this until we can settle into the practice of conscious loving. That doesn't mean anything other than just folks are learning more and more and more about their pair and what is over there on that world. People activating intimate relating. I want to say this one last thing. There are nations that are in power struggles. There are groups that are in power struggles. There sometimes is even a power struggle between the deaf and the hard of hearing, or the deaf and the hearing. Anytime there's a power struggle, it's an invitation, a deep, true, heartfelt challenge and invitation for each one of us to become world travelers, extraordinarily skilled world travelers, which is living conscious loving on behalf of the whole world. So this is a little tidbit from Alaya. I know that Michelle, in her signing and her own interpretive coaching practice, adds to the words I've said. And together, we're inviting people to come together and help us transform the entire world, the whole world, into a group of beings that travel to the other world as their first step in when they have an encounter. Tell me about your world. Curiosity, without any of the judgment or blame or shoulds or ought tos or have tos, and a recognition that every world has its own language, its own vocabulary, its own set of beliefs and values, and only when we can slow down enough to do world travel will there be world peace. I offer this as a little tidbit from me to you. Have a grateful day, and remember, enjoy the chances to world travel. Greetings. My name is Alaya Chadwick. My background is 40 years of life coaching in multiple forms. I have 2 master's degrees, a master's degree MSW from the University of Connecticut, that's clinical social work. And I also have a 3-year master's from Yale in pastoral counseling and spiritual consulting. I've been in the field for 40 years, as I said. You can find more information out about me at my website, www.sanctuarynh for New Hampshire, sanctuarynh.com. You can also look up this website, www.wholepoint.us. After all, we are the whole point. wholepoint.us. Either of those will get you to my detailed information. I hope that you know that in any way that I can be of service, you can reach out to me and I will respond as quickly as possible. My favorite thing to do is to work with adults and couples who have done a whole bunch of work but still find themselves stuck. So, with that having said, I think I've offered enough for you to be able to find me. Have a grateful day.
Hi, my name is Michelle Smiley. I have a bachelor's degree in drama and a master's degree as a teacher of the deaf. And with more than 30 years experience in instruction, education, facilitation, American Sign Language and involvement in the deaf community, I am also the owner of Interpretive Coaching. My fields of expertise are in interpretation and, of course, coaching or teaching. And one of my specialty areas in this realm is helping people really unpack, deep dive down into, and understand that the language that they've been using with themselves on a daily basis and with others truly has impact on their life experience. And sometimes that language has kept them stuck. And if they're willing to adjust that language, they can start to get a sense of unstuckness, of freedom, and their life moving in a straighter direction on the path that they desire. My vision has been to design a program, a business that was equally accessible to both the deaf and hearing alike. And this is the one I have created. If you want to learn more, check me out online at www.interpretivecoaching.com. Those services that are provided are in English and in ASL.